Matt Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Sunday? I'm doing great, my girl's doing great, my family's doing great. I hope each and every one of you are doing great through these crazy, chaotic, and just uncertain times. If you could please hit the like button, if you could please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button to get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of all of my videos. So what's up, what's up, what's up? It's been 7 days, man. Honestly, things have just been crazy. I hope you guys weren't missing the videos because, you know, we're going to keep it up. We're going to keep doing it. Good news is I've learned to use OBS and to record through OBS. Now I just have to get a good video editing app and learn how to use that. I think I'm just going to do Adobe Premiere. I know it costs money, but whatever. It's going to have a learning curve, I understand, but it is what it is. Something I got to do. So I was going back on all my videos and I realized that I still haven't done a video on Collins Bay. Crazy, right? Collins Bay is the biggest penitentiary in Ontario and also the oldest standing penitentiary in Ontario. 1455 Bath Road, Kingston, Ontario, right on the same property as Frontenac, which is part of the mega complex of a minimum, a low medium, a medium, and a maximum. And that's just what Collins Bay is. It has a maximum capacity of 700 guys, and that's without all the double bunking. There is some double bunking depending on your security level, but not always. Now, the first block in Collins Bay was one block. Only guys who know Collins Bay from back in the day when it was Gladiator School through the 90s and the early 2000s will know it was one block. And then 20 years later, they put 2 and 3 and 4. I don't know if it was all right at the same time. And those were the blocks that Collins Bay consisted of right until like the early 2000s, which is when they started having the idea of putting in lower security blocks that were a lot like Fembrook, where you could cook your own food and kind of just have a more transitional from hardcore penitentiary to somewhere where you're not really in that lifestyle so much. You don't have to worry about fighting and violence as much, and you can concentrate on bettering yourself and preparing yourself to get out. So they now have maximum, medium, low medium, which would be 9 block now, and then they have the minimum, which is Frontenac, which is a camp, and that is a prison without a fence. And the only chance you're really getting there is if you have no escapes, you don't have a ton of breaches, unless you do a ton of time and you have to cascade down, then they can't avoid that. It's just the way that it is. Now, they built Collins Bay Penitentiary to kind of help with the influx and the overpopulation of Kingston Penitentiary, even though at the time it wasn't meant to be anything. It wasn't meant to be a maximum security prison, as that wing was built in 2015, and the minimum wing was built in 1963 or 1964, I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me because sometimes I make mistakes too. I make mistakes. Now, it used to be called the Preferred Class Penitentiary, not Collins Bay. Now it is Collins Bay Penitentiary, aka Disneyland of the North. And the reason why they call it Disneyland of the North is because of the big cathedral roofs in the front of the building. And they're big, steep, red roofs, and it gives it like this medieval castle appearance. You will see it in the thumbnail. Now, if you are an inmate who just got sentenced to however many years federal time, and you are going through Joyceville reception, if you've gone through the pen 5, 6, 7 times, or you have heavy violence on your record, most likely Collins Bay is going to be your destination. Unless you're involved in gang politics like STG, there's only certain blocks that go to Collins Bay, really. And then the rest of the blocks will either go to Warkworth or Fembrook. I'm not going to mention the blocks, but if you've been in the system in Ontario, you know that there's 3 or 4 specific blocks that are known for Collins Bay. Now, what I will say is over the years, I've heard lots of stories about murders, violence, and crazy in Collins Bay. And that's just been the place. Gladiator School, you know what I mean? And that's not like BS. So Ty Khan, I don't know, I mentioned Ty Khan back in a video in the past. He actually escaped from Collins Bay, and this guy had so much nerve that he wrote sent the warden a greeting card, and there was some, disrespectful message in there, taunting and kind of laughing that he was able to get away with this. And I think he actually might have escaped from Collins Bay twice, but I'm not sure 100%. Now, let's talk about the violence at Collins Bay, because really and truthfully, that's what it's known for. Collins Bay, over the years, next to J Unit, has been on par with Joyceville. Sometimes it's been considered more serious, and sometimes it's been considered a little less serious, but not really. Collins Bay has kind of been the solid pen in the province for a long time, right next to Joyceville before it was Reception. So obviously any penitentiary like that with such a big population, in terms of Canada, it's a big population, is going to have lots of violence, whether it's fights, whether it's stabbings, or whether it's murders. And now in Canadian prison, the populations aren't huge, so it's not like you have murders every day or every couple of days, but Collins Bay is known for some murders. So, in 1999, Donald Mongon, I think is how to pronounce his name, who was just in for armed robbery. That's armed robbery. That's a solid charge. So I don't know what the politics were behind it. It could have been over debt. Who knows what it could have been over, though. His body was found, and it was initially thought to be a suicide. But later on, it revealed that it was not a suicide. He had a plastic bag tied around his head. There's a bunch of things going on that clearly showed that it wasn't a suicide. And I don't think anybody to this day has been arrested for this murder. And that's just one example of violence at Collins Bay. And the funny thing about this murder was, it was 5 meters away from a 3-guard post. Crazy to think, right? How can that happen? There is human error in every job, in everything that people do. Sometimes there could be human error, but when somebody loses their life because of human error or plain out neglect, there's got to be responsibility. And if you're in prison for something, you shouldn't have to worry about being murdered. If you follow the rules, if you go in there and do everything you're supposed to do, which most guys don't do, let's be real. But if you are that guy, you shouldn't have to worry about having your head smashed in, being stabbed to death, or whatever. I actually watched a video today which said it was a stabbing at Collins Bay. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can go check it out. I can't put it up on here because of the YouTube guidelines, but I will put the link in the description. You guys can tell me if you think that's Collins Bay. Somebody else said it was Edmonton Max. But it just kind of shows that prison, no matter where you are, is serious and anybody can get it. And that's why it's never smart to go there, no matter how comfortable you are. There's always going to be different people there. And who knows, if you just rub somebody the wrong way and they decide they want to run at you. And I know a lot of people say, don't scare people, don't boost it up like it's crazy violent all the time, because it's not. Let's be real. But the reality is you can make some simple mistakes, like telling somebody to shut the F up when you're angry, telling somebody F off, lots of things I've seen guys get crushed for, and a lot of times were accidents. So don't go to prison. It's not worth it. July 27th, 2015, James McDonald, 55 years old, was murdered in Collins Bay. And they also, in that case, did arrest guys. It was 2 guys that were arrested for the murder, and they were young guys. Like I said again, I don't know the politics behind it, but there's clearly something happening. People don't just typically get murdered for no reason. And if it's not shady charges, it typically means shady business. You dealt with somebody shady. You dealt with somebody effed up. Because, like I said, even killers don't typically just murder people randomly. There's usually a buildup of animosity, tension, resentment before that kind of thing happens. And just because our media doesn't allow us to see what really happens, they give you like these little 1-paragraph synopsis of the violence. it's impossible to really know what happens. And that's because, like I said, our media is controlled by the government. So they don't want to look bad and put out all this violence and stuff to show that the system isn't perfect and doesn't work. And no government probably wants to do that. They just have the luxury of having media controlled by them. So, and in 2018, a guy, an Asian dude who was serving life for second-degree murder, was murdered in Collins Bay. He was also stabbed, and I don't know exactly how. I don't know exactly the stories behind it, but that just shows 3 murders specifically. And I'm going to tell you about another murder that I know the story about. I heard about it for years, and I wasn't there. It's not in the Google. You can't Google it and find it out because it's a brutal murder. And this was like early in the 90s or early 2000s. I don't know the exact time. I think it was like in the 90s, okay? There was a dude, he was like a big shot, and I don't know what kind of business dealings were going on. I don't know why it happened, but one day he was working out, right? He's just smashing the bench press. Bah! 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 And up comes this dude who's not a very big dude at all, but a serious guy with a 45-pound weight plate, lifts it up over his head and comes down, boom, right on Buddy's forehead, supposedly just mashes his whole skull in. Violent murder. And even if it's not you that's being attacked that way, just seeing that is going to traumatize you. Watching somebody's skull get crushed is not something meant to see. And you're definitely going to lose just a little bit of your soul from seeing that. So once again, no prison, no Collins Bay, none of that. Now, Collins Bay can be a place where you can do good time. You're going to smoke weed, you're going to smoke cigarettes, you're going to have your clothes and your stereos. There is a cafeteria at Collins Bay if you're in the higher security. And in Max, I think you get fed in your cell. I'm not sure exactly, but that's typically the way that Max works. But if you're not in 9 block, which is the unit where you cook your own food, you go to the cafeteria, and nobody really wants to eat in the cafeteria. Nobody wants to eat cafeteria food. You'd rather just cook your own food. But, you know, sometimes that's not an option. And at least if you're in a cafeteria, the food's most likely going to be hot, as opposed to if it comes up on a cart. That's not always the case. So, Collins Bay. Lots of people have went there. Lots of people have got out healthy. Lots of people have went there. Lots of people have got stabbed. Lots of people have been jumped and beaten and murdered. Depends on, you know, which way. And it's just not a fun life. It's not a fun existence. And chances are, if you're in Collins Bay, it's because you've already effed up in some of the lower security joints, or your charge is serious enough to land you there in the first place. Because if you're on a murder charge, you are automatically going there for 2 years after you go through Millhaven reception. And you will stay there for 2 years minimum. And that's if you have no incidents. Any incident can stack time on top of that before you ever get to a medium security institution and really get to relax for once. Because in Max, there is no relaxing. It's militant. It's on point all the time. That is prison. Obviously, I share my stories with you guys so you guys don't have to go through these things yourselves. If I could snap my finger, nobody goes to the Bay. Nobody goes to the Ville. Nobody goes to Workworth. None of these places. That is what I do, but that's not a reality, especially in 2021. Life is hard. Life is expensive. People are suffering. People are addicted. And sometimes decisions you make can land you in prison. Hopefully by sharing my videos, I somewhat prepare you or at least give you an idea of what you're going to go through. I've personally never been to Collins Bay. I have lots of friends that have been there. It's a big prison with a big wall around it, so you're not getting views of the streets and nature like you would if you were in Joyceville or some of the other prisons. And it's rifle towers and prison. Collins Bay, man. Serious joint. The biggest and oldest operational penitentiary in Ontario. If you could please hit that like button. If you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button so you get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of all of my videos. So, if you're from Ontario and you know somebody who's done pen time and they come to you and, yeah, I did pen time, I've been in Bath. Or I did pen time and I've been in Fembroke only. or I've done pen time and I've only been in camp. That is not prison. Collins Bay is prison. Joyceville is prison. Warkworth is prison. Millhaven is prison. And into Ontario, those are the 4 most serious penitentiaries to be in. You break the law, one day you're going to end up there. It's not worth it. It's a dead-end path. And you're all smart. And if you're alive, you have a purpose. There's a reason for you to be here. And there's a talent you have. You just got to figure out what it is. Love each and every one of you. The new Matt Clark.